Right, guys, welcome back to part 2 of the core rules. There was a lot more going on than we initially thought, we are in part 2. We've covered all of the core rules, right down to the end of the Battle Shock phase. So if that's what you're looking for, go and check out the first video. If you want more detailed rules that are still within the core rules, so terrain, endless spells, specific things, we're going to cover this here.
Yeah.
So, just a quick recap of everything that we covered, Grant. Lots and lots of subtle changes, but very big changes.
Yeah. It's definitely going to play differently.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, terrain. Probably my least favourite part of Sigmar.
The terrain doesn't do an awful lot.
No.
You tend to be looking out for a few key pieces, and I don't know if that's going to change. But I guess we're going to find out.
Yeah, so there's a couple of things that I'm noticed just by having a quick glance. And if you didn't watch the other video, we have not read these rules. We are discovering them here for the first time, talking about them and seeing what is different and learning of them right now.
Exactly.
Terrain. The terrain over which the battle takes place is represented by scenery pieces from the Warhammer Age of Sigmar range called terrain features. The battle pack you are using will tell you how to set up the terrain features, and the rules for movement explain how models can move over and onto terrain features. Terrain features cannot be picked as the target of an attack unless noted otherwise, which we'll get to shortly because there's another page a little bit further on. And I say that because I did catch it. It's the monsters bit which has been previewed on the community page. Sometimes a rule will require you to determine if a model is wholly on a terrain feature. A model is wholly on a terrain feature if its base is touching the terrain feature and no part of its base extends beyond the edge of the terrain feature. If a model does not have a base, it is wholly on the terrain feature. If it's touching the terrain feature, no part of the model... Yeah, it's repeating itself.
Yeah.
Behind terrain. A target unit is considered to be behind a terrain feature if all of the following criteria are met. The target unit is more than 3 inches from the attacking unit. All of the models in the target unit are within 1 inch of a terrain feature. It is impossible for the attacker to draw a straight line from the closest point of a model in the attacking unit to the closest point of a model in the target unit without that line passing across the terrain feature.
Seems fairly clear.
Faction terrain. Faction terrain is special type terrain that is taken as part of an army. A faction terrain feature has the faction terrain war scroll, C23, which will tell you how it is set up and what additional rules apply to it. Okay. Scenery rules. Terrain features have one or more scenery rules. The scenery rules for a terrain feature are determined by the size and appearance as described below.
So that's different.
Yep. So this is going along the lines of 40k, I think.
Which is what I thought and hoped
we
would go to.
Cover. A target unit is in cover if all of the models in the unit are wholly on the terrain feature or behind a terrain feature. Add 1 to save rolls for attacks that target a unit that is in cover. A unit that has a wound characteristic of 10 or more, or that has made a charge move in the same turn, do not receive the benefit of being in cover. Okay. I don't think that's changed. I think that's still the same.
There is a little cut out of the side here. It does say the terrain that is too small to have an effect on the battle or is otherwise inconsequential is called scatter terrain and is purely decorative, so you can ignore it when doing anything else.
Which I think most people do anyway.
I'm not sure if that was ever spelled out clearly before.
Yeah.
So now it's
defensible terrain. Defensible terrain are structures that it is possible for entire units to enter and defend, such as an intact building or fortifications like towers or bastions. Defensible terrain features can be garrisoned. You cannot move models over a defensible terrain feature unless the model can fly, and you cannot move a model onto defensible terrain feature, even if it can fly, unless it is garrisoning the terrain feature.
Yeah.
Okay. Large and very large terrain. Terrain features that are extremely big are referred to as large or very large terrain features. A terrain feature that is more than 12 inches up and 19 inches across at its widest point is a large terrain feature. A terrain feature that is more than 19 inches across at its widest point is a very large terrain feature. Large and very large defensible terrain features can be garrisoned by more models than normal defensible terrain features. In addition, if the battle pack you are using for a battle specifies the number of terrain features that you can set on the battlefield, then each large terrain feature counts as 2, and each very large terrain feature counts as 4. Okay.
I think this will also start to make a lot more sense when we get to 17.2, which is going to go into all these terms. But
Wildwood terrain. Forests and woods in games of Warhammer Age of Sigmar are called wildwoods. Is that the same as the Sylvaneth one, though?
No, because they're now awakened wildwoods.
Oh, okay. Targets that lie within them are concealed from sight by thick foliage. If the scenery pieces that make up the wildwood terrain feature are formed into a circle with an area of open ground inside of the circle, the area of open ground inside the circle is considered to be part of the wildwood. Visibility between two models is blocked if a straight line 1 millimeter wide drawn between the closest points of the two models passes across more than 3 inches of the wildwood terrain feature. Visibility to or from models with a wounds characteristic of 10 or more are not blocked by the wildwood terrain feature. Fine.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's pretty much the same as what they've said in the new Awakened Wildwood War Scroll. But
it's just strange with all woods are now wildwoods.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. But
I guess it links into the whole fact that Sylvaneth are awakening the wildwoods.
Yeah.
It could cause an issue in terms of just terminology and that, but I'm sure we'll get used to it.
So, moving on. Next page. Garrisons.
Something that's just never really been that common, but
No.
it's been in the game for a while.
Units can garrison defensible terrain features. Up to 60 models can garrison a very large terrain feature. Up to 30 can garrison a large terrain feature, and 15 can garrison other defensible terrain features. Models with a wounds characteristic of 10 or more can't garrison them. Units and models garrisoning a terrain feature are in the terrain features garrison. Okay. Joining a garrison. During deployment, a friendly unit can be set up in a defensible terrain features garrison if the terrain feature is wholly within an area in which friendly units can be set up. In addition, a friendly unit can garrison a defensible terrain feature instead of making a normal move if all models in the unit are within 6 of the terrain feature and no enemy models are in the terrain feature's garrison. Units that garrison the terrain feature are removed from the battlefield and assumed to be inside the terrain feature. Friendly units must treat terrain features that are being garrisoned by enemy units as if they were enemy models.
Okay.
Nothing special there.
No, it just seems to be, from what I remember of the Garrison Rules, this seems to just be them.
Did anyone ever use them?
The Cards and Overlords technically garrison their boats when they're in them.
Right, okay.
So that's about it.
Outside of Carriage and Overlords, does anybody... Okay.
I don't think so.
Subtract 1 from hit rolls and add 1 to save rolls for attacks that target a unit in the garrison. The range and visibility to and from models in the unit are determined using the terrain feature instead of the models themselves. Okay. Leaving a garrison. A friendly unit in a garrison can leave the garrison at the end of your movement phase. If it does so, set it up so all models in the unit are within 6 of the terrain feature and more than 3 inches from all enemy units. Technically, you could jump the board if you've got a very large garrison. Because you could start 6 inches away from it, garrison at that turn, and then your next turn jump out on the other side.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is the thing. Maybe we'll see more garrisoning because there's more options through with more defensible terrain being a thing.
Yeah.
It's just simply a case of there's not been much garrisonable terrain on tables, as to why I've never seen it.
It'd be interesting to see how much terrain we are told to put on the table when we read the match play rules.
Yeah.
Demolish. Sometimes a rule will allow you
It also does, just skip past, you can't join and leave in a garrison feature in the same turn.
Alright, yeah.
So you can't jump into the start of your movement phase and then appear at the other side of the battlefield at the end of your movement phase with your 60 grots that you couldn't have very large terrain.
Yes. Sometimes a rule will allow you to demolish a defensible terrain feature. When a defensible terrain feature is demolished, all units garrisoning it must leave it and no longer treat it as defensible. If a defensible terrain feature has been garrisoned when it is demolished, roll a dice for each model in the garrison on a 1 that model is slain. So it's basically 40k vehicles.
Yeah, which makes sense.
The surviving models...
If I go up and smash a building, I expect the people inside it to probably die.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember 7th edition 40k when like the damage that you took was equal to the toughness of the...
yes.
Toughness of the building, and it was all considered AP minus AP 2, which basically meant that anybody with a 2-up armor didn't get a save.
Yeah. It was just...
It was brutal.
Just death.
I remember deep striking some fire dragons in a Dark Eldar Raider when you could, and just fire dragoning. Is it the Aquila Strong Point with the big massive gun?
Yeah, the macro
and the guy had loads of Sisters of Battle inside, and I just decimated them. 7th edition. Wow.
Yeah, wild times.
Yeah. On a 1 the model is slain, the survivor models from the garrison must be set up within 6 of the terrain feature and more than 3 from enemy units. Okay. That doesn't really... I'm still not fussed on Garrison Rules.
No.
Objectives. A whole section on it. And Grant, I challenge you to go and find the rules for controlling objectives for Age of Sigmar 2nd edition. Just go and find the rules for them.
Why? They're in each mission?
No.
Are they on each mission pack?
They're not even in the General's Handbook. There is a teeny tiny section in the core rulebook that tells you how to control objectives, right?
Right.
But most people probably only buy the General's Handbook, which doesn't even have the core rules in it.
No. Yeah, well... I guess their defense is the rules are a free PDF.
Where
so everyone had access to them.
I don't even know if it was in that, but either way, they were really hard to find. This is not hard to find, it's right there.
Yep, section 18.
So, battles are fought to gain control of vitally important locations. These locations are called objectives, and each is usually indicated with an objective marker. The battle plan being used for the battle will show or explain how objectives are placed. When measuring distances to and from objectives, always measure to and from the centre of the objective marker. If an objective is placed on the border between 2 territories, it is considered to be within both of them. Objective marker control. After setup is complete but before the first battle round begins, each player gains control of all objective markers that are within 6 of any friendly models and more than 6 from all enemy models. That's new.
Yeah.
So you're automatically considered to have control of them, which means you can technically move away from them in your first turn and still have them, rather than gaining control at the end of your turn after your movement and everything.
Yeah.
So that is an interesting change.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. Where are we at? In addition, at the end of each turn after Battle Shock phase, you must check to see if you have gained control of any objectives. To do so, you must count the number of friendly models that are contesting each objective. See 18.1.2. You gain control of an objective if there are more friendly models contesting it than enemy models. Once you gain control of an objective, it remains under your control until your opponent takes it from you.
Yeah. So, these objectives are the same size as they always were then?
Doesn't matter what size they are, you're measuring from the centre.
Oh, it's a 6-inch. What I mean is it's a 6-inch.
6 inches from the centre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is what the current range of the objectives is just now.
It is, yes, because 40k is 3 inches.
Yeah, and we're moving to smaller tables.
Yeah. Well, are we moving to smaller tables? I haven't seen that yet.
They mentioned it on stream.
Okay. I genuinely haven't seen it yet, so I don't know.
No, they on one of the streams they made the point of saying how it's upscaled Warcry boards, which fit into the 40k 44x60.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, they've said it without saying it, really.
Okay.
And there was also a reveal of a terrain pack, and they come with those boards, which will be the same size every other board is. So
right,
we'll get to it in here, but I'm assuming it will be the recommended size will be that.
Okay. So a model must be within 6 inches of an objective in order to contest it. If a friendly unit has models within 6 of 2 or more objectives,
Ooh.
you must pick one of these objectives for the models from that unit to contest. So previously, and this is when I was looking up the rules and I couldn't find it, model by model. So each model used to only be, each model could contest an objective. Now, the unit can only contest one objective.
This next section, though.
Okay. Unless noted otherwise, each monster counts as 5 models for the purposes of contesting objectives, and each model with a wounds characteristic of 5 or more that is not a monster counts as 2. Wow.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
But
so
ogres count as 2 anyway, but they're 4 wounds.
Yeah, so they're already getting the benefit when they shouldn't be under core rules, but they are getting it because of their allegiance abilities.
Yeah.
And their monsters are still 10 instead of 5.
That's still good.
Yeah, I mean, monsters needed it.
Yes. When they said Stonehorns got 10, count as 10 models, like, that was so good. And obviously Mega Gargons counting as 15. Is it 15? I can't remember.
I think it's 20, is it not?
Yeah, so is it 15 for the Man Crushers?
It's like it's not 10 for the Man Crushers, but 15 in that one tribe that bumps their numbers up.
I can't. It's been so long since I played them, but they do.
There's one value, and then there's another tribe that makes them all count as more again. But,
one of them makes them count as 30, I think.
Yeah.
But honestly, right, like this is good. Armies needed this.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not loads, but it's enough to go.
No. But
actually, you know what?
It would invalidate ogres. Like, this is ogre's thing.
Yeah. So Alariel counts as 5 models now. And rightly so, she should. She's massive. Marathi counts as 5 models. Great. An ogre on a Stonehorn, fine, fair enough. The fact he's a monster counts him as 5, and then he's an ogre anyway, he gets an extra 2. That makes it 7 if you were doing it that. Obviously, giving them a little bonus, rounding up to 10 for their allegiance ability is good.
Yeah.
That's really good. So, terrain control. Sometimes a battle plan will require that you gain control of a terrain feature. Defensible terrain features are controlled by... well, there we go. That's where the defensible terrain's coming in.
Well, that's going to be great for armies that can't go into defensible terrain.
Who has any units garrisoning them. Other types of terrain feature are controlled in the same manner as an objective, except the friendly models must be within 3 inches of a part of the terrain feature to contest it, instead of needing to be within 6 inches of its centre.
Okay.
So 3 inches of the edge of the terrain feature if you need to control terrain features. That's okay.
See how much of a thing that's going to be. Like, might be a narrative.
If a model has an ability that allows it to count as more than 1 model when contesting an objective, you must use that ability instead of counting it as 5 models if it is a monster and 2 models if it's not a monster with a wounds characteristic of 5 or more. So that's basically ogres and sons, you're fine.
Yeah.
Wizards!
Ooh.
I'm waiting for you to say it now. You're a wizard, Harry.
Oh. Never even clicked.
Oh well. A unit with a wizard keyword on its war scroll as a wizard, you can use a friendly wizard to cast spells that they know in your hero phase and unbind spells in the enemy hero phase. The number of spells you can attempt to cast or unbind with a wizard is noted on their war scroll. All wizards know Arcane Bolt and Mystic Shield. In addition, a wizard knows all of the spells on their war scroll and on the war scrolls of endless spells in the same army as them.
So just as before?
Just as before. Casting spells. In your hero phase, you can attempt to cast spells with friendly wizards. You cannot attempt to cast the same spell more than once in the same hero phase, even with a different wizard. In order to attempt to cast a spell, pick a friendly wizard, say which of the spells that they know will be attempted, and then make a casting roll by rolling 2d6. If the casting roll is equal to or greater than the casting value, spell is successfully cast. Fine. Miscasts. On an unmodified casting roll of a 2, the spell is miscast. The spell is not successful, and the caster suffers D3 mortal wounds.
Yep. I quite like having this back.
Oh!
I quite like.
Oh! And the caster cannot attempt to cast any more spells in that phase. Wow!
I like this.
Why don't they add this to Perils of the Warp for 40k?
Then you also take it on a double 16 on 40k.
Yes, you do. But the spell still...
So
it still goes off if you roll a double 6, unless you explode and kill yourself from the mortal wounds.
Yeah.
That's great. I love that. That's a really good change. I like it.
Having danger back into the spellcasting phase.
Fate Weaver is not fine, because even if he rolls a double 1...
Yeah, he's still out of it.
You're probably going to use your Fate dice a lot more for him cast. I mean, people were doing that anyway to get the double cast.
Yeah, he's also got his once per game change the dice roll anyway.
Right, okay.
So you can do that. Like, yeah. But then Zine should have ways around this. Zine might even ignore it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who knows?
Unbinding. If a spell is successfully cast, your opponent can pick one wizard within 30 of the caster to attempt to unbind the spell before its effects are applied. In order to attempt to unbind the spell, first say which wizard will attempt to unbind it, then make an unbinding roll by rolling 2d6. If the unbinding roll is greater than the roll used to cast the spell, and the spell is unbound, and its effects are not applied. The number of spells a wizard can attempt to unbind is noted on their war scroll. Only one unbinding attempt can be made for each spell. That's fine.
Yeah.
Same as before. All spells have a casting value followed by an effect. In addition, a spell may have a range. The effect of the spell is treated in the same way as an effect of an ability for the rules purposes. See 1.6. The first sentence of a spell will always list the casting value. It will also list the range of the spell if it has one. Range of the spell is measured from the caster. Fine. Arcane Bolt is...
Wow, these spells have changed.
Okay. Arcane Bolt is a spell that has a casting value 5 and range 12. That went down from 18. If successfully cast at the start of any one phase before your next hero phase, you can pick one enemy unit within range and visible to the caster. That unit suffers one mortal wound. If that unit is within 3 of the caster, it suffers D3. So you just wait and go, now you're going to take that mortal wound.
And what happens with Nagash now? Because he can multicast Arcane Bolt. So if you charge Nagash, do you take like 8d3 mortal wounds?
At the end of the charge phase, bang, 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 mortal wounds because you're within range. Wow. That's so good.
Well, now we know why he's 975 points.
But
can't charge him.
I haven't looked at his new war scroll. Can he still do multiple arcane bolts?
I actually don't know. His war scroll's not been updated in the app last time I checked. I don't know.
If he can, that is pretty savage because you cast it 8 times.
Yeah, he can, but he's not been given a new war scroll. I don't think. He just got a new points increase, did he not?
Is he not in the Soulblight book?
Yes, he is.
So therefore, he must have a. Well, they've obviously printed it, so it must be at least the same. Or we'll look after this, but that's savage because then, wait there. At the start of any phase, so you've got to go at the start of the combat phase and go, oh look, I've cast Arcane Bolt 8 times. You suffer 8d3 mortal wounds.
Yeah.
Wow. And technically, Arkan can do that because his War Scroll is not in the Soulblight book. His is in the Bone Reaper book, and he can still do that. So Arkan can do that. That's savage. That's really savage.
Yeah. And Mystic Shield is changed as well.
So you've got to pick one enemy unit within range and visible. So actually, what you'd have to do is Nagash would have to cast it, then charge, and then go right at the start of the combat phase. Now I'm picking that. You're within...
Yes.
Because
Yes.
they'd have to be within 12 in the hero phase to be able to target them anyway.
You don't have to target them.
You do. Arcane Bolt is spells a casting value.
If successfully cast at the start of your phase, you then pick the target. So it's like you're casting them and building up the charge,
but
and then you can.
It also says before your next hero phase.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my god, this is going to be brutal.
Mm-hmm.
You can put people off charging with that.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah. That seems ridiculous.
That's going to be good for a lot of big wizards. Marathi, Alario, Fate Weaver. Charge me if you dare, but you're taking D3 mortal wounds.
Yeah. Which is not nothing. It's still something.
No, because if somebody's bracketed anyway, or Catacross only has to suffer 1 wound and then he's bracketed.
Yeah.
That's good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mystic Shield, it's gone back to +1 save, and it's only a casting value of 5.
I think we're going to see a lot less rerolling in this edition.
Yeah.
We seem to have lost a lot of it, and we're just going to +1 save.
Well, even if you look at the Daughter's Battle Tome, they don't reroll 1s for paired weapons now. There was something that gave them reroll 1s, and then they were rerolling wounds for Witch Brew. Witch Brew just gives them +1 to wound now.
Yeah. So that's also the direction we're going in. We're moving
less
away from
rerolls. Yeah, less rerolls. I'm glad that they could put Mystic Shield back to that, to be honest.
Yeah, it gives it a bit more use, I think. Because a lot of units reroll 1s anyway.
The problem with that is, at this point, we don't know what they're going to do to Nighthaunt. This will not affect Nighthaunt.
No.
Which is a shame, because, a unit of 40 Chain Rasps with Mystic Shield on was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll see.
But they're also now one of the older books.
They are the oldest book besides Stormcast. No, they're not.
Nurgle.
Yeah. And I didn't know.
Deepkin. Yeah, Nurgle and Deepkin.
They came out just before second, didn't they?
Yeah, both pre-second edition books.
Endless Spells. An Endless Spell is a magical entity that is summoned to the battlefield by casting the spell on the Endless Spell War Scroll. Unless noted otherwise, an Endless Spell cannot be attacked or be affected by abilities. You can move models across and through an Endless Spell as if they were not there. You can move models across and through an Endless Spell as if they were not there, but you cannot finish a model's move on an Endless Spell. Summoning Endless Spells, select a wizard. When the spell used to summon the Endless Spell is successfully cast and not unbound, the Endless Spell is set up on the battlefield described on its war scroll. Dispelling Endless Spells. At the start of your hero phase, each player can attempt to dispel 1 Endless Spell with each friendly wizard and friendly priest. The player whose turn is taking place makes all of their dispelling attempts first. If a wizard attempts to dispel an Endless Spell, they can attempt to cast or unbind 1 fewer spells in the hero phase.
Yeah, so you can unbind, you can dispel in both hero phases.
At the start of the hero phase, each player can attempt
to dispel.
But it's at the start, therefore you can't do it because your opponent hasn't cast anything yet, so you can't do it really in your opponent's hero phase until the following turn.
It's for dispelling ones that are on the table.
Yeah, exactly.
And you've got 2 spells out.
Yeah, then you can.
You could both dispel in both hero phases then.
Yeah. So the only time that rule doesn't take precedence is if there's none on the table and your opponent is casting 1 for the first time. But after that, every hero phase after that, both of you can attempt to dispel 1 with each friendly wizard.
Yes.
So if you've got 5 or 6 wizards on, you could technically dispel everything at the start of your opponent's hero phase.
Yeah.
which means then they'd be forced to have to recast them if they want them.
Yeah, the buffs up, yeah.
That's going to be a little complicated for me, I think. Trying to remember that.
I think they'll probably... I think the thing is, I think we're probably not going to see as many endless spells, potentially.
Yeah. If a... Or in a priest, the player whose turn it is taking place makes all of their dispelling attempts first. If a wizard attempts to dispel an endless spell, they can attempt... If a wizard attempts to dispel an endless spell, they can attempt to cast or unbind one fewer spells in that hero phase. Right, okay, so if it's your opponent's hero phase, you've got one less unbind or dispel.
Mm-hmm.
If it's your turn and you dispel something, you've got one less cast.
Yeah.
Okay. If a priest attempts to dispel an endless spell, they can chant one fewer prayers in that hero phase. The same player cannot attempt to dispel the same endless spell more than once. So, both players could attempt to dispel it.
Yes.
No, I don't see many reasons why you would want to. But saying that, you could dispel it yourself,
And then recast
recast it on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. To attempt to dispel an endless spell, pick one that is within range 30 of a friendly wizard or friendly priest. Then make a dispelling roll. If the roll is greater than the casting value, it is dispelled and removed from play. Oh, an endless spell cannot be summoned again in the turn that it was removed from play.
Oh. Yep.
An endless spell remains in play until it is removed from play. An endless spell is removed if the endless spell is dispelled. The endless spell touches the edge of the battlefield after it is moved. A method on the endless spell's war scroll is used to remove from play.
Cool.
Okay. Wizards are usually units consisting of a single model. If a unit with the wizard keyword has more than one model, it counts as a single wizard for the rules purposes, and you must pick one model in the unit with which to cast or unbind a spell before you attempt to cast or unbind it. Determine the range and visibility for the attempt using that model. That's interesting because obviously if you've got evocators and you're using is a chain lightning, you've got to pick which model, which means you never want to pick the one in the middle, ever.
No.
But then you've got to choose which one. But the problem is if your models are in a V.
The thing is, you had to do that before.
Did you?
Yeah, but it wasn't as key. It was more for line of sight
Oh,
purposes.
because it made no difference because there wasn't the risk of blowing yourself up.
Exactly, yeah. So now that you can blow yourself up, it's a lot more risky.
Because you don't want to not be in coherency.
Exactly.
But does that matter? Because then in your movement phase, you move to within coherency?
No, but it means you have to move into coherency.
Yeah, okay.
So it's,
Fair enough. Predatory endless spells, Grant.
I do love a predatory endless spell.
Many endless spells are immobile, and once summoned, they remain in the same location. However, some can move across the battlefield. These are noted on their war scroll as being predatory endless spells. Predatory endless spells are moved at the end of the hero phase. The end of the hero phase, not between the battle rounds. If either player has any abilities that can be used at the end of the hero phase, they must be used after all predatory endless spells have been moved.
Okay.
So the move at the end of every hero phase, which is twice per turn now.
Yeah.
And this kind of protects Marathi. Because there was that whole abuse thing where you could mortal wound her off the table between battle rounds.
Yeah, because Marathi needs protecting. Because she's so easy to kill right
now. Old Marathi. You know what I mean.
Yes.
So before moving predatory endless spells, you must first determine which are controlled and which are wild. A predatory endless spell within 30 inches of the model that summoned it is controlled by that model. A wizard can control one predatory endless spell per hero phase. If there is more than one predatory endless spell that a friendly wizard could control, you must pick which one they will control. Predatory endless spells that are not controlled are wild. So moving predatory endless spells. After determining control of a predatory endless spell, the player whose turn is taking place moves all the predatory endless spells controlled by friendly wizards.
Yeah.
So if it's your turn, if it's your hero phase, you move ones that you control first.
Mm-hmm.
Their opponent then does the same, so they move their controlled ones.
Yep.
Once all controlled predatory spells have been moved, the players alternate picking one wild predatory endless spell to move, starting with the player whose turn is taking place until all wild predatory endless spells have been moved. A player must pick a wild predatory endless spell to move if any are eligible to do so, and cannot pick a wild predatory endless spell that has already been moved. Okay. Yep. When a player picks a predatory endless spell to move, they are considered to be the commanding player of that predatory endless spell until the start of the next hero phase. All other endless spells are under the command of the player that summoned them.
Okay.
That's going to take a little bit of work now, because obviously if you can...
Yeah.
When can you dispel them, did it say?
The start of the hero phase.
So if they're not dispelled, then you would move to the rules for moving them, and if they're controlled or not. Priests. A unit with a priest keyword on its war scroll is a priest. Each friendly priest can chant one prayer that they know in your hero phase. One prayer.
Yeah, that's a big change.
None of this. There's one on the war scroll, and then they know one of their own.
Yep.
One prayer.
And that was just the way it was for every priest.
Oh. No, because you could do Blood Boil with the corn ones, and then do like Bronzed Flesh.
Yeah, every priest did that. Every priest would do their war scroll prayer and then another prayer.
All priests know the Bless and Smite prayers. In addition, a priest knows all prayers on their war scroll and on the war scrolls of Invocations in the same army as them. In your hero phase, you can chant prayers with friendly priests. You cannot chant the same prayer more than once in the same hero phase. So no double Blood Boil.
No.
Even with a different priest. In order to chant a prayer, pick a friendly priest, say which of the prayers that they know will be chanted, and then make a chanting roll by rolling a dice. If the chanting roll is equal to or greater than the answer value of the prayer is answered. Divine Wrath. On an unmodified chanting roll of a 1, the chanting priest suffers Divine Wrath. The prayer is not answered, and the chanting priest suffers 1 mortal wound. Khorne already had that. They don't care. That's better, because I'm sure if they rolled a 1, it was D3 mortal wounds.
Well,
so that's better. And the Daughters of Cain one suffered a mortal wound on a 1 anyway, because you always took the Iron Circlet to re-roll a 1. Prayers. All prayers have an answer value by an effect. In addition, excuse me, prayer may have a range. The effect of the prayer is treated in the same way as effective ability for rules purposes. So, Bless. Bless is a prayer that has an answer value of 4 and a range of 12. Pick one friendly unit wholly within range and visible to the chanter until the start of your next hero phase that has a ward of 6+. That's pretty cool. Yeah. And Smite. Smite is a prayer that has an answer value of 2. And a range of 48. If answered, pick one enemy priest within range and visible to the chanter. That enemy priest suffers 1 mortal wound. If the chanting roll was a 6 or more, the enemy priest suffers D3 mortal wounds instead of 1.
So, yeah, it's pretty easy to get off, but it's also very situational.
Yeah, so you've got to have priest, your opponent's got to have a priest, and you go, I smite you down!
Exactly. My faith is stronger than yours.
And then you get hit by a lightning bolt from a Thor or a Stormcast Eternal.
Yeah.
Invocations. Or what?
Yep. I would say, or like, Hand of Gore comes down and smacks you across the table.
An invocation is a divine entity that is summoned to the battlefield by chanting the prayer on its invocation war scroll. Unless noted otherwise, an invocation cannot be attacked or be affected by abilities. You can move models across or through an invocation as if it were not there, but you cannot finish a model's move on an invocation. They're under control of the player who summoned them. In your hero phase, you can attempt to summon one invocation. When the prayer used to summon the invocation is answered, the invocation is set up on the battlefield as described on the war scroll. Yeah, if you can't place it, it's not answered. Banishing invocations at the start of your hero.
So you can summon an invocation and still chant a prayer. Because one is summoning and one is chanting. They're two different words. and it doesn't say that you can't.
Because it says you can chant one prayer.
And you can summon one invocation.
That's okay then.
Yeah, so you can still get you could still get your Wrath Axe and a Blood Boil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the start of your hero phase, you can attempt to banish one invocation with each friendly priest instead of chanting a prayer with that priest in that hero phase. What?
Yes, you can banish one invocation with each priest instead of... So you can
right. So you can banish one of your opponents instead of you chanting one.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
You could banish one of your own if you wanted.
Yeah.
Not sure why you would.
To attempt to banish an invocation, pick one invocation within 48 of the friendly priest, then make a banishment roll by rolling dice. If the roll is greater than the answer value of the invocation, it is banished and removed from play. An invocation cannot be summoned again in turn which it was removed. It's exactly the same, just it's priests instead of wizards.
Yeah, which is nice, because priests are always a little bit forgotten.
An invocation remains in play until it is removed from play. If it's banished, touches the edge of the battlefield, or a method on the war scroll or allegiance ability removes it. Monsters.
Oh, this is the one. Even though we've already seen all this. But still,
yeah. So a unit with a monster keyword on its war scroll is a monster and counts as 5 on the purposes of securing objectives. But Monstrous Rampage, at the end of a charge phase, each player can carry out one Monstrous Rampage from the table below with each friendly monster. The player whose turn it is taking place carries out all of their Monstrous Rampages first. The same player cannot carry out the same Monstrous Rampage more than once per phase. The effect of a Monstrous Rampage is treated in the same way as the effect of an ability for rules purposes. So if you have 4 monsters, you can do all 4.
You can.
But the hero ones, you could only do 1.
Yes.
I don't... Do you think it's intentional that the heroes... Only one hero can do one of them?
I think so. The hero ones are all armies are going to have multiple heroes. Not every army is going to have multiple monsters.
Fair enough.
If you're taking multiple monsters, then this is a nice wee benefit that you get.
Fair enough. So, Raw, pick one enemy unit within 3 of this model and roll a dice on a 3+. That unit cannot issue or receive commands in the following combat phase. That is actually pretty good.
Yeah. Really good.
So you know that Stonehorn that charge them 60 stabbers?
Yeah.
Raw, you can't Inspiring Presence.
No. Exactly.
But technically you could do it from another hero.
No, because it can't receive commands. Can't issue or receive commands.
Oh, yeah.
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 So you just shut that down completely.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I like that. That's going to see a lot of play, that one.
Stomp. Pick one enemy unit within 3 of this model that is not a monster. Roll a d6 on a 2+. That unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. Stonehorn doing yet more mortal wounds.
Exactly. Which is what we all want.
Titanic Duel. Pick one enemy monster within 3 of this model. Add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by this model that target that enemy monster until the end of the following combat phase.
Which is excellent.
Yeah, who doesn't want an extra +1?
I mean, just going back to the Stomp, with a character Stonehorn, then you can charge it and do your impact hits, then do Stomp, and then if you got Metal Crunchy, they can do another d6 mortal wounds. So it's potentially 20 mortal wounds you could do.
But it's not 36 grand.
It's not, but I can get 2 of them for the price of 1 Kragnos. But I won't get 2
Nearly.
No, 2 Huskguards. They're only 320.
Is that all they are now?
Yeah, but Huskguards aren't that great.
What's a Frostlord? 400?
Yes.
So Frostlord and Huskguard?
Yeah.
Mental.
But you can't do Metal Cruncher twice, so you're not getting the 36.
No. Smash to Rubble. Pick one faction terrain feature or defensible terrain within 3 of this model and roll a dice. On a 3+, the terrain feature is demolished. If it was defensible and the scenery rules on its war scroll cannot be used for the rest of the battle. I dislike this one because this should have stayed exclusive to Sons of Behemat.
The thing is, an army Sons of Behemat can destroy 2 pieces of terrain a turn.
True.
So they're still better at it than anyone else is.
But why would you want to do Destroy a Faction Terrain feature when you can stomp Titanic Duo or Raw?
Well, if you're playing Gits, then you no longer can bring your models back, or you're no longer immune to battle shock.
Well, yeah, but that's only one terrain feature, so they'll just do that anyway. Oh no, it's only one that can do it, isn't it? It's only one guy that can do it.
Yeah.
So it means all of the others can now do it.
Yeah.
But is it the Gate Smasher or Gatebreaker can do it twice?
Gatebreaker.
Yeah.
So Gatebreaker can do it once, but then so can anyone else in his army as well now.
Nice.
So you could take out a defensible piece and a faction piece in one turn.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Moving on to War Scrolls, I don't think there's really going to be much to talk about here because nothing.
No.
Everyone knows what the War Scroll is like, so I don't think we need to cover this. I'm just going to read a couple of things though. So Rend Modifiers, whilst most modifiers add or subtract from a characteristic, the Rend characteristic is improved or worsened. Modifiers can make the Rend characteristic worse, or can never make it worse than Dash. A save of Dash. A save characteristic of Dash means that you must roll a 7 or more when making a save roll for that unit. So, because, can you remember Blood Reavers used to have a save of Dash, and people argued, well, they're in cover, they should get +1, they should have a 6 up.
Yeah.
Now, technically, you can. Because if a save roll, if it's a save of Dash, if you're in cover, you then get a 6 up, essentially. If you're not hit with any Rend.
Yes.
So what they've clarified is if you don't have a save, you've got to have your +1, and you've got to roll a 6.
Yeah.
It's not.
Well,
it's nice.
The other nice thing about clarifying it, saying you need to roll a 7 up, it means you still make the dice roll.
Yeah.
So if you've got like abilities that bounce back mortal wounds on save rolls, remember and always make those save rolls.
Yeah.
Even if you're rended out, you can still do damage back.
Yep. Random characteristics. Sometimes the move, range, attacks, or damage characteristic of a War Scroll will show a random characteristic instead of a fixed value. When this is the case, the value of the characteristics is generated each time you need to use the characteristic, as described below. If a modifier applies to a random characteristic, determine the value of the characteristic first, then apply the modifier. Fine. But it goes back to what we were saying about like Alariel's updated War Scroll and stuff. A lot of the D6, D3 damages and stuff are just being removed.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, into the speeding up the game, possibly. Less dice you're rolling.
Yep. Random move. If you need to know the value of a random move characteristic for a unit, make the random characteristic roll shown on the unit's War Scroll. The roll is the move characteristic for all models in that unit for the rest of that phase. Squigs.
Yeah. I think everything else going through the rest of the War Scroll.
Random range, random attacks or damage. Mounts and companions. Let's read this. Sometimes the description on a War Scroll will say whether the models in that unit have mounts, companions, or a crew. When a model attacks its mount, companions and crew attack too, and when the model is removed from play, its mount, companions, and crew are removed too. For rules purposes, companions and crew are treated in the same manner as mounts.
Yeah.
Command model. Some units can include uniquely named champions, standard bearers, or musicians. These are known collectively as command models, and the War Scroll may include upgrades that apply only to them or abilities that can only be used if they're part of the unit. Fine. Weapon options and upgrades. Many War Scrolls allow weapon options or upgrades to be taken with 1 in every X models. When this is the case, if the unit has fewer than X models, the weapon upgrade can't be taken. Abilities, damage tables, keywords. It's all pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Faction terrain.
Again, it's just talking you through what a terrain faction War Scroll is and what then the spell and invocation war. It's just showing you how to read them, which
most people, it's pretty self-explanatory. I don't think there's anything there that's any different. Pitched battle profiles. So again, I don't think this is too different. Apart from new to AOS 3.0 is models and units that cost in multiples of 5 points, Grant.
Yes, we did start to get a tease of that with Soulblight.
I think so. Soul Blight was written with 3.0 in mind, though.
Yeah. So yeah, we've now got increments of 5, which is going to be annoying the time you write that list that is 5 points over.
Yeah.
But
at the same time, it's a little bit more availability to balance.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Yeah. Sometimes 10 points up or down is too much, so it gives you a little bit of breathing space.
Yeah, absolutely. Unit size. These entries list the minimum number of models a unit must have. When you select a unit to be part of your army, you must take it at the minimum unit size unless it could be taken as an understrength unit or a reinforced unit. An understrength unit is one that has fewer models than its minimum unit size. A reinforced unit has twice as many models as its minimum unit size. If you can include reinforced units in your army, you can reinforce units with the battle line battlefield roll twice. A unit that is reinforced twice has 3 times as many models as its minimum unit size and counts as 2 units towards the number of reinforced units you can include in your army. If the description for a unit says that it is a single model, it cannot be reinforced. So this is going to come into play when we look at the battalions and how to form your army, I think.
Mm-hmm. So it seems like, I could be wrong, you pick your unit and that's the one, level 1, say.
Yeah.
Your 5. So take this here, the 5 Vindictors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you reinforce it once, it goes to 10.
Yeah.
Then reinforce it twice, it goes to 15.
And you can't reinforce it more than that.
No. So everything's limited to either 2 or 3 times then.
Yes. That's how I read it.
Interesting. That's very interesting.
But I think, didn't zombies come down to 30 and people were whinging about it?
40. It's 20 then 40, I think.
Okay.
They come in boxes of 20.
Right,
so
okay.
I'm pretty sure it's just 2 boxes is your max.
That means was unit of 30 Mortec Guard, was that the max, or could you go with 40?
You could go to 40.
That's going to get, obviously, that's basically going to get FAQ'd straight away to say, right, you can only go to 30.
Yeah.
Because you can.
So can Ogres go to 18 then?
No, because they come in units of 9 Ogres?
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless they count as units of 6 when all the points and everything are revealed.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know how I feel about this. But in the same sense, if they've gone for unit coherence...
But it also seems there's only sometimes you can include reinforced units, and there seems to be a limit on the reinforced units, so... I think we need to keep reading
right.
to get a handle on this, which is where we're heading.
No, so it says you have to use the minimum models unless it can be taken as an understrength or reinforced unit.
Yeah.
So you have to take 10 or 5 or 20 models.
Yeah.
Unless you go understrength or go over your minimum. That's what it means, I think.
Yeah, which under strength you can't do in match play. I think there's a rule in the General's Handbook usually that stops that, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. But that's interesting because that foreshadows what we're probably going to see shortly.
Yeah, I think it's all going to make a lot more sense.
So points values. This entry list for points value of a unit is pitch battle profile. Points are used, for example, a battle pack says you can take units in your army with a combined value of 1,000 points. When this is the case, spending the appropriate number of points on a unit allows you to take 1 unit of that type, with any optional upgrades to which it is entitled and that you wish to take. If you take a reinforced unit, double the points value of the unit. If you take a unit that has been reinforced twice, triple the points value of the unit. If you take an understrength unit, you will still have to pay the points value for a unit that has minimum number of models. So that's saying that you can't take the same unit more than once. Isn't it? Or unit type.
So you should take 1 unit. No, it's just the point allows you to take 1 unit of that type.
Oh, right, okay. Okay.
It's just clarifying what you're spending. This is clarifying what you're getting for your points.
Yeah.
So the other interesting thing about this, no more discounts for big units.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because they only introduced that in 2.0.
But it was stupid. You get the point where you'd have like 15 models in your unit. You'd be maxed out at 20. It only costs like 30 points more to add in 5 guys at the end.
Yeah.
So there was an incentive to take either min one step up or the max. There was a lot of size that just never saw play because it just wasn't point sufficient.
Yeah, like Lucy always played 10 or 40 ghouls. That was it. 10 or 40.
Yeah. Exactly, because you get the discount. It's not worth looking at any other level.
Which is interesting, because now she's limited to 30 ghouls.
Yes.
Which means she's now got 4 squads of 30 instead of 3 squads of 40.
Yeah.
Yay!
And she can give them +1 save, and +1 to hit, with their millions of attacks, with all the spells from the Ghoul King and Archangel.
Yeah. I think do you know they can go up to 7 attacks?
Yeah. With +1 to hit now.
Which means they'll be hitting on 3s, re-rolling 1s, because you get to re-roll hit rolls of a 1 for some spell, and then you get to re-roll all wounds because of the Abhorrent on Zombie Dragon gives you re-roll wounds. Oh. Yeah, anyway. Battlefield roles. Some units are assigned 1 or more battlefield role which appear in this entry on their pitch battle profile. Sometimes a battle pack or battle plan will limit the number of units with a specific battlefield role that you can take or require you to take a unit with a specific battlefield role. For example, a battle pack might say that you must have at least 1 unit with the leader battlefield role and you cannot have more than 3 units with the behemoth battlefield role.
Okay.
That's just an example, but we'll see. Conditional battlefield roles. Sometimes the notes column of a pitch battle profile will tell you to change the battlefield role of units of that type if certain conditions are met. For example, choosing a certain model to be your general can mean that the battlefield role of certain units changes to battle line. So I think this is referencing like your Beast Claw Raider, your pair on your Stonehorn.
Yeah.
And similar. Where this is the
There's
case.
lots of armies have different battles depending on the gen. It's a very common thing.
Unless noted otherwise, the units lose all the battlefield roles in the battlefield role column of its pitched battle profile and just has the battlefield role specified in the notes column instead. Again, we'll have to read the missions to see what happens to that. A unit that has a conditional battlefield role keeps it for the entire battle, even if the conditions that require to have that battlefield role in the first place change during the battle. For example, if your general's slain. Fine. Unique and single. If a pitch battle profile for a unit says unique in the notes column, it means that you cannot include more than 1 unit type in your army. If it says single, then units of that type cannot be reinforced. Okay?
Yep.
Terrain endless spells and invocations. Basically includes it in there. And allies. Below a faction's pitch battle profile table, you will find a list of allies. The allies list will detail which factions you can take allied units from and any restrictions that apply to their use. Allied units cannot be your general. Fine. And here we go. Battalions.
This is the...
Have you looked at
this
yet or not?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Have you?
No.
No.
No. Battalions are formations of specific units that give you access to additional abilities. There are 2 types of battalion: a War Scroll battalion and a Core battalion. Mm-hmm. Are you hopeful now?
Well, no, because this is what we knew. We knew there was War Scroll battalions and we knew there was Core battalions. What I want to know is, what can I use where?
The battle pack you are using will say whether you can use battalions and which type of battalions you can use.
I want to know what a battle pack is.
A battle pack will be the mission, basically. It'll be the...
I don't know if it is now. I'm starting to wonder if battle pack means narrative or matched.
Maybe.
Because that would explain why there's so much variation in them. Because you can't have missions requiring different lists, which is what we've seen with the battle pack there, mentioning limits on certain things.
Yeah. Battalions are picked after you have picked the units for your army.
Yeah.
Each battalion is made up of units from your army and can only be taken if the appropriate units from your army are available. The organisation section lists the units that can or must be included in the battalion. In a War Scroll battalion, the units are listed by unit, type or keyword. For example, one Liberator's unit means a unit that uses the Liberator's War Scroll, while one Paladin unit means a unit that uses the Paladin keyword on its War Scroll. Fine. In a core battalion, the units are listed by unit icon. Refer to the key on the right to see which units are indicated by which unit icons. Units that must be included are indicated by mandatory unit icons, whilst units that can be taken are indicated by optional. So that's going to be the dark ones and the light ones on the next page. Each battalion has one or more battalion abilities. Battalion abilities are used in the same way as abilities on a War Scroll. The abilities for a War Scroll battalion appear on the battalion's War Scroll. The abilities for a core battalion are listed by battalion ability icon. Refer to the key on the right to see which battalion abilities are indicated by which battalion ability icon. If several battalion ability icons are separated by a slash, you must pick which of those abilities the battalion has when you take the battalion in your army.
Okay, that's quite interesting.
One drop deployment. If a core battalion has the unified icon, see right, then after you set up a unit from the battalion, you must set up all of the other units from the battalion, one after the other. And you are not allowed to set up units that are not part of the battalion until all of the units from your battalion have been set up. In addition, if the setup instructions for a battle say that the players must alternate setting up units one at a time, then after you set up a unit from your battalion, you must set up all of the other units from the battalion, one after the other, before your opponent is allowed to set up another unit. Very long-winded. It's the same as what you used to, but you can't split your battalion.
It's not the same.
How?
So, there's a bit at the side that changes everything.
The only battalions that can use the one-drop deployment rule are core battalions that have the unified. Aha.
And you have to set up everything means one drop's going to be a lot more rare, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see when we get to the core battalions.
Right, let's have a look at them then. So, where's the unified keyword? Unified is 3 fists.
Cool.
Only one of them has it.
So only the battle regiment can...
Yeah. Yeah. Right, anyway, let's have a look at them. You can include any of the following core battalions in your army if the battle pack you're using says that you can use core battalions. Okay. So, looking at the Warlord, so the Dracoth symbol is Commander. The other symbol that looks like a Lord Celestin says Sub-Commander, a leader with a wounds characteristic of less than 10. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I see where this is going. Troops, unit that is not leader, artillery, or behemoth. And then artillery and behemoth are separate ones. So the battle regiment, for example, you could only include one commander. And then you
have to include one.
You have to include one, but that's it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm looking there. Yeah.
So then, a sub-commander is a leader with a wounds characteristic of less than 10.
I thought it'd be in different layer. I thought it'd be on different levels. Yeah, that's what threw me there.
So a battle regiment, if you take a Lariel, you can't take a Tree Lord.
No.
Oh. Oh.
And are we allowed to take... Oh, this is so weird.
but then you have to take 2 troops, but you can take up to 5.
Yeah.
And then you can take either a single behemoth or artillery piece.
Mm-hmm. The one that's got me interested is the one directly beneath it.
Oh.
A commander and then 2 to 3 behemoths.
The line breaker.
Looking at this... Yeah. And so the symbol at the bottom is the benefits that they get. So we should maybe look through and see what all the benefits are.
Right, okay. So the Stormcast Helmet is Strategist. Once per battle, when you receive command points at the start of your hero phase, you can receive 1 extra command point. That's cool. So basically, you take a big commander, or your general, 2 little ones, and 1 battle line. Mm-hmm. That's cool, because that's got space for another one. So like in that instance, you could take a Lariel, a Witch, a Wraith, or a Revenant, a Tree Lord for your second one, and then you only need 1 unit of battle line.
Mm-hmm.
The Grand Battery. Sorry, what's the other symbol it gives you? Magnificent. When you pick enhancements for your army. What the hell are enhancements?
No, they're 27.3. We're 26.3. Only we're far off finding them out.
You can pick 1 extra enhancement. Oh god. Okay. Slayers for the Grand Battery. Once per battle.
Ooh, I wonder. Are enhancements going to be the way to get more relics and mount traits and stuff now?
Oh,
artifacts and mount traits and things.
Possibly. So the Grand Battery is a small hero and 2 artillery. Slayers, once per battle, 1 unit from this battalion can receive the all-out attack or unleash hell command ability without spending, without the command being issued and without the command point being spent.
Which means you can do it twice. Because it doesn't count as being issued. And then you can issue it again. So you can do it to 2 units, is what I mean.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Are you going to run your Iron Blasters yet?
No, because they're still terrible.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Expert, which is your line breaker. Once per battle, 1 unit from this battalion can receive the all-out attack or all-out defense command without the command being issued and without a command point being spent. We've got Vanguard, which is swift. Once per battle, 1 unit from this battalion can receive the at the double or forward to victory command without the command being issued or without the command point being spent. They're pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, these are interesting.
But only the unified one is a 1-drop.
Yeah, so 1-drops are going to be...
And it's very specific the way you have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It says you can include these, but so far we don't know if you have to build to these. Like, can you take other stuff in addition to this?
Yeah, I think once we get into match play rules section, that's when a lot of this will become a lot clearer.
Yeah. Right. Allegiance abilities. I don't think we really need to cover much of this.
No. Oh, enhancements, though. We need to cover that.
Sub-factions. Some factions contain 1 or more sub-factions. The battle traits for the faction will... Oh, so that's basically which storm host you're running within Stormcast. Yeah. Right, fair enough. Enhancements. Each set of allegiance abilities includes a number of enhancements that are given to specific units in an army. Enhancements are divided into command traits, artifacts of power, spell laws, prayer scriptures, mount traits, triumphs, and 1 more set of unique enhancements. Enhancements are picked after you have chosen the battalions for your army. You can always take 1 enhancement for each type. Or you can always take 1 enhancement of each type for your army, and the battalion or battle pack you're using may allow you to take additional. So basically, you can take a command trait, 1 artifact, spell laws, prayer scriptures, mount traits, triumphs, and unique enhancements. So you can only take 1 spell. Models do affect attacks. Oh, in addition, artifacts of power and command traits that affect attacks made by friendly models do not affect the attacks made by their mounts unless noted otherwise.
Yeah.
So that'll be mount trait specific ones.
Mm-hmm.
There is some will affect it.
That benefit the mount, but they tend to say.
Yeah. Each time you take a command trait enhancement, you can pick 1 command trait and give it to your general. You can never pick more than 1 command trait for your army, and command traits can only be given to a general that is a hero. Doesn't say anything about named characters yet.
No. I'm a little bit sad there's still only 1 command trait in Sigmar.
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping it would go the 40k road and we'd get to take additional ones, because there's so many good ones that you just never see.
Yeah.
Because you're locked into your sub-factions.
Oh, right, it says here, taking a spell law enhancements allows every wizard in the army to know 1 spell from a spell. So you take the spell enhancement, And then everybody in your army that's a wizard can choose one spell, unless you're a Lariel. Or the Spite Revenant thing.
Yeah.
So each time you take an artifact of power enhancement, you can pick one artifact of power and give it to a hero in your army. A hero cannot have more than one artifact of power. Spell laws. Each time you take a spell law enhancement, you can pick one spell for each wizard in your army from any of the spell laws available to that wizard. You can pick different spells from different spell laws for different wizards. Each wizard knows the spell that you picked for them in addition to any other spells that they know. Prayer scriptures. Each time you take a prayer scripture enhancement, you can pick one prayer for each priest in your army. It's the same thing. Triumphs. Each time you take a triumph enhancement, you can pick one triumph for your army. Each triumph you pick can be used only once per battle and can only be used if the points total of your army is less than that of your opponent's army. So that's the same. But
no, because you get to choose your triumph.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah, but the way in which you get it is the same.
Yeah. Yes. But being able to choose it is pretty interesting if that's how it works. We don't know yet.
But then choosing a command trait and a relic to go on a named character potentially, which I don't think it's going to allow, but we're not there yet. Unique enhancements. Some set of allegiance abilities include unique enhancements. Each set of unique enhancements will explain how they are used if you take one or more of them for your army. Nothing I can see there for them yet. Subfaction allegiance abilities. Sometimes the rule for a subfaction will give you access to a further set of allegiance abilities. If the allegiance abilities for a subfaction include a command trait and the general of your army has the keyword for that subfaction, then that command trait must be the one you give to your general. If the allegiance ability for the subfaction includes an artifact of power, any heroes in your army, then the artifact of power must be the first artifact of power given to one of those heroes.
Yeah.
Universal enhancements. So
these are all just if you don't have a book, but everyone has books now, so I guess they're just there if you want to have some additional options.
No, the following enhancements can be used by any army.
Yeah.
So basically, if you don't like the ones in your book, you can pick one of these.
Yeah, you've got these ones.
So there's universal command traits, artifacts of power. Oh, universal spell law. Oh, flaming weapon is a spell that has a casting value of 4. If successfully cast, pick one of the caster's melee weapons and add one to the damage characteristic of that weapon until your next hero phase. Cool.
If you've got a decent fighty caster.
Archeon.
Yeah.
It feels like this is what was that book? The Realms
Malign
book.
Sorcery.
Yeah, with all the realm artifacts and spells and everything.
Yeah.
This is basically it.
Yeah, it's a trimmed down version, so you've got some extra options.
Battle packs. Here we go. So, before you wage war in a game of Ages...
Hold on. There's Universal Triumphs. Yeah. Bloodthirsty, Inspired, and Indomitable. But no one will flee.
You can re-roll a charge roll.
Yeah.
Add one to wound rolls. And basically a free Inspired Presence. Two of them are a bit naff compared to the others. Like, I just think re-roll hits, re-roll wounds, or re-roll saves is great.
Yeah.
But +1 to wound, that's quite good.
That's nice.
Like, imagine a block of 12 ogres with +1 to wound.
And the charge roll, you can now use the triumph after you've rolled the charge. You have to declare it before.
After
yes. The charge roll friendly, and you can say, so that's a big bonus.
Yeah,
Gives
absolutely.
You in your pocket reroll.
Absolutely. So battle packs. Before you can wage war in Age of Sigmar, you must select a battle pack. All battle packs include sections that explain how to select the units in your army and what special rules apply when fighting battles using the battle pack. These sections are followed by the battle plans. that are used when fighting battles using that battle pack. Okay. Army selection. This section of the battle pack explains how to pick an army when you fight a battle using the battle pack. And special rules. This section of the battle pack will tell you which optional core rules such as allegiance abilities and battalion abilities you must use. It may also include additional special rules that are used when you fight a battle using that. Okay, but where's the examples of them? That's it. I don't follow that.
I'm guessing when we come to match play and narrative play, they'll have the battle packs there.
Right. Oh, here you go. Here's your favourite thing. Mysterious Terrain Grant.
Yeah, so it's back.
Some battle plans will instruct one or both players to roll on the Mysterious Terrain table below to determine additional scene rules that will apply to certain terrain features. If this is the case, the rules for the battle pack will specify who rolls on the table and for which terrain features. So, Damned, unit suffers D3 mortal wounds and get +1 to hit. Arcane, add 1 to cast and dispel and Unbinding rolls. Inspiring, +1 bravery. Deadly is
1 D3 mortal wounds.
Yeah, Mystical, add 1 to chanting and banishment rolls for models.
So they're all the same as they were.
In addition, models have a 6-up ward whilst they're within 1 inch, and Sinister, -1 from your bravery.
Yeah.
Okay. So, battle plans. So, gives us an example battle plan. We've got title, armies, tells you how to set up the battlefield, tells you how to deploy. Many battle plans include one or more special rules. They may be unique to certain units. Okay. Battle length in each plan will tell you the winner. Each battle plan includes a map showing the location of each player's territory and any objectives that are being fought over. Rather than using measurements, each map shows the battlefield divided into 4 large quarters, each of which is divided into 4 small quarters. This allows you to use the same map for any size battlefield. Some maps may include additional information such as location or certain terrain features and where to set up a specific model. Okay.
So I think once we kind of get used to these measurements for the, I think it could be a lot easier to set up battle plans potentially once we see them.
That's actually the end of the core rules.
Yeah. So I guess that'll be the end of this part.
Is everything then fixed into matched player? But where's the battle pack? That's what I want to know. That's narrative player. Oh, there. So here, this is the start of the match player one. Contest of Generals battle pack.
Yeah. So the battle pack is
matched.
The style of game you're playing.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So with all the core rules covered, it still hasn't created an entire picture for me.
No.
I still don't fully get the battalions yet.
No, I think once we delve into match play, it'll all come together.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you've watched this far, thank you very much. Go and check out the match play rules section to basically finish off all the core rules.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of changes, and I'm nervous about playing my first game because there's so much extra that's just subtly changed.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the big learning curve, just going to be getting used to all of it.
I don't feel like there's any gigantic changes. There's lots and lots and lots of subtle little changes.
And a lot of them are going to be bigger than we realise once we start playing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean. There's no big, obvious, huge, overarching change to everything.
Absolutely. Right, we are now going to sign off, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Go and check out the Match Play Rules video as well. And we hope that you have enjoyed us rambling and learning the rules as we've gone along.
Yeah.
I am quite excited about some stuff, but I'm still a little bit nervous going forward. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the Match Play video.